It doesn't feel good when you're going through the fire and you're being refined. But like someone told me once, you can't be a testifier unless you've been through a test of fire.
It's time to pivot in your confidence, career, and compensation with the 5 Minute Career Hack Podcast every Monday and Thursday. Now, get ready for a special interview curated just for you. Welcome back to the 5 Minute Career Hack Podcast. We are so thrilled to be in season 3 of this phenomenal podcast. And what I am certain about is that we could not have done it without your support. So thanks to all of you for your reviews, your comments, all the sharing that you've done for us. We truly appreciate you in the spirit of gratitude. And if you're new here, do not forget to hit the subscribe button and stay updated on our latest episodes that we release every single week. So no fluff, all action. Let's hop right in. Again, today I get to do one of my favorite roles here as a co-founder of the 5 Minute Career Hack, and that is share in conversation with business leaders and entrepreneurs across all industries. And I am honored and I'm privileged to be speaking with a visionary in business leadership and financial management, BiNi Scoor. With over 25 years of experience, BiNi's outstanding track record includes developing highly effective programs recognized by prestigious institutions like Texas State University and Stanford Graduate School of Business. BiNi's knack for turning big ideas into actionable strategies has led to securing over $600 million in grant projects, benefiting over 100,000 families. Wow. Currently, BiNi is driving change as chair of the Austin Achieve Public Schools and supporting initiatives like the African American Leadership Institute in Austin and the First Trauma Recovery Center in Texas. Again, you may ask, with all of this, what is her superpower? She turns big, nebulous ideas into concrete action to achieve positive, measurable results. She is the master of getting things unstuck. So I am confident that any bottlenecks that you hear today, that you are experiencing, will be released by what BiNi shares today. BiNi, welcome to the show, and it's such an honor to have you here today.
Thank you. Good morning. Appreciate you having me.
Yes, thank you, thank you. So let's hop right in. Tell us more about you and your career journey. I know you just didn't arrive to all this greatness out your sleep this morning. Tell us what that's looked like for you.
So it's been interesting because I'm in a very unique niche of a situation. So yeah, the question is, how did I get here? I always had a love for business. I actually went into college as an architecture major, and I could draw and I could do all these different things. But overarching, my love for business entrepreneurship was always there. I was always side hustling or doing something. And so I ultimately decided, okay, maybe I don't want to be in college for 6 years. Plus, how did I get out of here? But then I pursued public relations.
Hmm.
So that became something that I felt was good. It's about this work in the community and how we communicate and two-way communications to get things done, right? So I actually enjoyed that. It also got me out of college a little sooner. I got into the business world where people kept telling me I needed to focus, but I just really enjoyed learning about lots of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've worked. I can't even put on my resume or my LinkedIn all the things. It just used to confuse employers. So I learned I had to scale back my resume and just make it about the big things that I did. But literally, I've worked in the for-profit sphere. The first business I helped start was my brother's construction business.
Wow.
I used to do graphic design, so I've done for-profits. Now I'm very much in the nonprofit world, and where that started to lead me was I saw a video. I was sort of looking for my purpose. I saw a video for a summer camp called Kids Across America.
Mm.
I knew nothing about working with young people at all, but I knew that was where I was supposed to be that summer. I went, and long story short, that began to move me. I learned I had a gift for working with people, working with the community, the youth, even though I knew nothing about working with kids. It was never on my radar. So then this love for business always was there. And I would try to kind of work these careers in corporate. I got my MBA and everything. But at the same time, the community work was the stuff that I realized I could eat, sleep, breathe this all the time. I never get tired of it. Every job, I'd go in, I'd fix a bunch of stuff, and then I'd be bored.
Yeah.
And so, um, and then I also realized, okay, in this community world, there's a lot to fix about how we deal with people, of society's issues. These are big problems. So I like the challenge. I also like pulling in my business acumen and all the things that I know there and have learned there, and infusing that actually into this community serving world, because that's what I realize is we don't have a lot of people crossing over from the straight corporate or business world into the community world to help groups with. Everyone's great at the mission, but
Yeah.
it's all these back end things. It's the finance. It's how you channel your data. It's how you keep your records. It's the contract compliance. If you want to grow and work with larger funders or funding or projects, you also got to do all these back end business things
Yeah.
and align your strategy to your policies and procedures and your systems and all of that. So I do all that back end ugly stuff that people don't actually like to do, but that supports the growth and the success of great work that's happening in the community.
Yes, no, that was phenomenal, and I think I heard you probably mention about maybe 10 industries, just in what in what you just talked about with the work that you do, so I think that is, phenomenal, and you said something that stood out, to me because you were just gifted at a lot of different things, but then you had to make a courageous decision to say, like, I don't care what anybody thinks about all these different things that I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna find and operate in my gifts. So give me just a tiny, because I think a lot of people are in that position of like, I'm super talented. I think I'm
Mhm.
feeling like I'm the author of confusion because they go to my LinkedIn page and they don't see any niche, but I'm just smart. I'm just smart and I'm talented and I want to be able to harness this gift the way that I want to. What does this the decision making process look like for you to say, I have all these things, but I can narrow it down to this. If you can give that in like a shorter answer.
Well, faith. I'm a believer in God. I can't really mask that because the fact is, what got me to that camp and what got me moving down this community, and every step, it's always been me just asking the question, what's the next thing for me?
Yeah.
Open the doors that I'm supposed to walk through, close the ones I'm not
Mm.
supposed to. And that has taken me down a very unique path that my logic and my reasoning would have never taken me down the same path.
No, no, I definitely
Mhm.
can relate to that for sure. And the other thing that I loved about what you said is that like the overarching theme of the work that I do is just about uplifting my community. And I
Mhm.
think it's evident when me reading your bio and then what you talked about, that is something that you definitely stand for. And I think because I'm going to ask you to talk a little bit about 212 Catalyst. It's not just about the back end things that you do, but you're impacting and influencing the mindsets of those that you work with as well, which is what I believe, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, where the 212 Catalyst came from and the concept of the 212 degrees. So tell me about your business 212 Catalyst, that mindset of 212 degrees that you are out here modeling so well. I love just to hear more about that.
Yes. So 212 degrees is the temperature at which water boils. So it's that one extra degree that moves you from pot of hot water. You're hot, but most groups that engage me, they're either somewhere at the beginning and they have an idea and they want to figure out how do we get this moving,
Mhm.
or they hit that lull. You know, you start an organization. For first, it's the big thing, and everyone's into it, and then you get into about 7 years in, and funders start to get a little bored, and investors, and they start moving on to other things. But you're still looking for that relevance, and so turning up that extra degree, figuring out what is that extra degree of difference, whether it's strategic or operational or something that needs to be done, in order to move groups from yes, good to great,
Mhm.
from hot to boiling, boiling being the point that moves the locomotive forward, right?
Yeah.
Sends a rocket ship up into space.
Right.
So, the magic starts to happen when you figure out that degree. And quite honestly, I just learned over time that I had the gift to do that, to kind of needle in and help groups figure out, okay, what are you thinking? Okay, and me knowing what's going on in the greater landscape of things and ecosystems and industry areas, and because I don't specialize in just one industry area, I specialize in people and process
Yeah.
to project manage things forward effectively. It also enables me to bring together less traditional groups in
Mm.
order to so it's not just that I help consult people or coach executives and things, which I do all of those wonderful things, but it's also that little bit for me of extra, that bringing that experience and
Mhm.
connections into the pot and kind of infusing it with that, maybe that one extra group or a few people maybe that you didn't know
Mhm.
before, but they're interested in the same thing, but they're over in a whole different industry
Yeah.
sphere. But I know because so I'm able to actually make granular connections and, uh, bring in tactics that uh, are in addition to just walking people through a process.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I would characterize that as you're a power plug. You're a people connector. You're connecting people to processes, businesses to businesses, people to people. I think you have lots of qualitative and quantitative results that shows that you do that well. So definitely thank you for sharing the insight around the 212 degrees. I heard my pastor talking about that a couple of weeks ago, and I was like, oh, I'm about to talk to somebody about this very thing. And when I was looking at your bio on LinkedIn, you talked about being someone who gets people and businesses unstuck. And that extra degree is that thing that helps them to shift or pivot from what's keeping them stuck to what's going to help them be successful in their business, whether that's personal or professional, right? And so we've got a lot of business leaders and entrepreneurs that listen to this podcast, and they might be stuck right now. Um, and so I love to lean on some advice that we call them hacks here at 5 Minute Career Hack for you on what's some of the common themes that you see when you're working with businesses or working with people that keep them stuck where they need that extra degree. Like, what's that barrier? And then how does 212 Catalyst help them remove that barrier?
I'd say one thing off the bat is doing your research and listening. I go start on a listening tour and a research tour because I get approached all the time, and there is literally, I can't think of many new ideas that I haven't heard before,
Mhm.
or something very, very similar. And of course, you start to ask, have you partnered with this group? Have you ever worked with that group? And I can always tell the degree of readiness of an
Mhm.
organization. Some are like, yep, talk to them, did this, did that, did that. Okay, so now it's a little easier for me to pinpoint for you. You've done all the right things, and you know what? Maybe this right here, though, isn't probably your path.
Mm.
And but what you're doing, and sometimes it's just confirming
Yeah.
for a group, you're on the right path. There's nothing new under the sun. There's no magic grant, or people come to me about grants all the time. And I'm like, that is not going to solve everyone's problems. And so, and then, yeah, have you done your research? Have you started by listening? We have something called confirmation bias, which is
Mhm.
uh, we post something or we talk to our friends and they're like, "Oh, that's a great idea. Oh my God, you should do this." And "Oh my God, you should do." And then you start thinking, "Okay, I'll do that." But really, was that like 3 to 5 people that
Mhm.
you were really, or 15 or 30 people, or even if it was 60 people that you know that are encouraging you, but are they going to be your customers? Or are they going to come off the money? Into really, there's a book called The Lean Startup that really explains the process of how you really go in, and it's also what people do with user experience and things like that, and in different spheres, which is go around asking people, is this something that would be of value to you? How much would you pay for it? If it is, would you pay for it? Would you be a customer? And really start to move from, oh, this is a great idea, and people think I'm great, and I want to just go out there, and then setting yourself up on a ledge though where there's no income coming in.
Hmm.
Go ahead and make sure you've already got maybe your first few clients already teed up, and that this is something of value, whether it's a nonprofit
Hmm.
endeavor or for profit. The same principle applies. Like, really make sure that, for one, you're as unique as you think you are. I know I love everybody, and we're all special and
Yes.
unique, and all of these wonderful things. But for instance, in Central Texas, there's over 14,000 nonprofits.
Mm.
So, what is new? What is a gap? Or what is duplication? And I tend to usually know 10 to 15 other groups that are
Mm.
doing something similar to most ideas that come to me. So I can also uh, help people with that, a little bit of navigating, like, how unique is this? Maybe you should partner. Maybe you do have a very inimitable skill set that would enhance what this other larger group is
Yeah.
doing and getting funding for already. And it's just a contract. Maybe it's not always starting your own 501(c)(3) or your own
Good.
LLC.
Good.
Maybe it's just you contracting with people. So um, I hear it all, and I'm often able to just know in the landscape, help at least channel people into spaces. And because I'm just me, I can say what a lot of other people can't say, that they'll be safer and keep their advice at arm's length, and make sure I'll often just say, this is I think this is what you should do.
Yeah,
And
correct.
sometimes people are looking for that though. They just
Mm.
Sometimes we're like, I'm coming to you so because you're the expert, and no one will just tell me
Right.
that this is, or no one is telling me the truth, or saying, yeah, you're special, but there's also 15 other special groups. Like, let's figure out your pathway into this and how we might match you into this sphere so that you can be successful in whatever form that looks like. And then being open to
Mm.
what form that looks like, because it might be a job, it might be working for somebody else,
Yeah.
uh, or maybe just even for a
We need
while.
them people. We need those people.
Yeah, yeah, we need a little of everyone. So, small businesses are wonderful, and drive the economy. At the same time, I'll go get a job if it makes more sense for me to work for someone than to be out here doing this. And you got to be also willing to. I'll say this is the last one.
You're good.
Uh, be willing to understand that the seasons do change.
Mm.
Sometimes
Good.
what was really needed and a game changer 7, 15, 20 years ago might, and especially in the nonprofit world, I'm like, to work yourself out of being needed at the same level,
Yeah.
that's actually success, right?
Yeah.
Because nonprofits are there to solve societal issues in
Mhm.
many cases. So if you keep needing more, it it's kinda counterintuitive a little bit, because it makes me wonder, then is the problem getting worse?
Good.
Even though you've been working on it, like, and it's possible that that could be, and at the same, and that you fill a role, and that you're, in a niche that, and the need, supersedes everything, and you need to grow in order to continue to meet need, and at the same time, it may be that what was needed 15 years ago, because of our good work together, might not be as needed now. And now, what does that mean for you shifting and pivoting into maybe a whole different space in the ecosystem?
Yeah, no, that was a very fruitful, phenomenal answer. And I like where you ended with the like seasons change. So do
Hmm.
people, so do business trends, so does the community needs. They change on the like no day is exactly the same. So they change on a daily basis. And kind of ending where you started with, that's why it's so important to make sure that you're constantly doing your research to understand what those trends are. And then how do you come to someone who
Right.
has receipts like Beanie to say, okay, now this is what I've come to. What advice do you have for me, or how or which direction should I go? Because You were exactly right. And we say this at 5 Minute Career Hack, nothing's new under the sun. So sometimes we get stuck because we're trying to constantly create something new that's going to set us apart. But really, it's just about understanding what the needs are, what people around us are doing, and then what's going to be that one thing that's going to stand out or that's going to make me a little bit different where I can help solve a greater problem. So I definitely agree with that. And then you said, listen, that is an underrated skill,
Mhm.
BiNi. Like, you can get advice from the 5 Minute Career Hacks and the beanies all day, but if you're not listening and open to doing something a different way or a fresh way, then that could cause you to remain in that stuck position. And the final takeaway I had, and then I'll ask you a final question, was about diversifying the people that you're around,
Correct.
diversifying the rooms that you walk into. Does that mean that you're getting a mentor, a sponsor, that you are spending time around people who are going to advocate for you? Are you spending time around those same 3 to 5 people that's either complaining or not moving forward? Beanie gave us a hack of talk to people in different rooms, diversify your
Mhm.
network so that you can begin to learn. That's a part of research. So you can begin to learn new things that are going to help you go that extra degree. So, I mean, I'm going to probably go back and listen to that answer again just so I could take me some additional notes because I can't take them during the podcast. But I think what you shared was phenomenal. And I'm sure those listening are going to get several gems from the way you just shared that. So, this is my last and final question for you. Well, actually, not the final question, but I want to just ask one more question because obviously, too, the extra degree is not just about the professional journey or the business. Sometimes individuals are the ones that are standing in their own way, staying at 211 degrees. So, if you had one hack to give to the person that might be standing in their own way, causing their unstuckness. I know you shared a lot in the last answer, but if there was an additional gem that you had around what can you do to get yourself unstuck so you can get your business unstuck? What does that look like to get to 212 as an individual?
Well, I think for one, on your listening tour, as you listen, and quite honestly, sometimes people will give you advice or thoughts without you always asking for them. Sometimes we don't want to hear it.
Mm,
I've said this, and I've even posted it recently, and I said it a lot, and I've seen it in also hiring, uh, looking at people's applications and resumes and reasons for leaving a job, and once you get to a point of redundancy where multiple people or entities you're having a similar experience or they're giving you the same feedback about yourself or
mm,
your idea or your business and they're not related, they're not in a coup, they're not in a group that's all talked about you behind your back, and I mean they're unrelated people. You keep hearing similar things but that they're the things you don't necessarily want to hear
mm,
about yourself or about your idea. You got to start listening. You got to start listening for, okay, if this many people, three or more especially, have told me something similar,
mhm,
I didn't like it, but it is time for me to look inside.
mm,
It's time for me to look back at, okay, what can I do better? You have to be willing to, as you listen, not just take the encouragement and the things that make us feel good. It's like know
dopamine.
your worth and
Yep.
charge you, you know what you're in. All of these things that we reiterate out there a lot that sound good, make us feel good, and make us confident. But you got the hard stuff as well, and it kind of punch you in the gut a little bit,
Mhm,
and really be willing to say, "Okay, I
mhm,
don't like it," but I am seeing a common theme. I'm
mm,
seeing a common experience that I'm having everywhere I go, whether it's a job or it's a contract or something. I experience the same kind of conflict
mhm.
everywhere. I always leave saying, "Oh, people were intimidated by me, and therefore they couldn't handle." Like I've seen that. I've seen that on job applications where reason for leaving was continuously people here were intimidated. My supervisor didn't like me because of this. There was discrimination. There was this, like, but it's like five or six of those. Like, and they don't even realize that their own narrative is telling me a story of some who I get that one anomaly.
Yeah.
Sometimes something didn't work out. We all have our Twilight Zone kind of experiences where it just wasn't a fit. But five, six times in a row, and you left 6 months
Mm,
after engaging with this group or engaging with that job, and all of these were short-lived. It starts to tell me something, actually, and I'm real good at listening to people tell me about themselves,
mhm,
them with no one else around, and being like, okay, so I'm actually seeing a pattern,
mhm.
and that's actually probably telling me a little about you. And even the way you're describing it, and even the way you're communicating it kind of lets me know uh, what people were encountering.
Yeah.
So I think it's, yeah, introspection
Good.
is so important in order for us to grow and evolve into what we need to, sharp, just round off those sharp edges and rough edges, because we've all got them and we've all had to work through them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It doesn't feel good when you're going through the fire and you're being refined, but, like someone told me once, "You can't be a testifier unless you've been through a test of fire."
Come on.
So,
That's good.
it doesn't feel good in the fire, and you have to deal with yourself and to deal with the mess and to burn that out, as far that as well. Whenever you turn up the heat, things are going to rise up to the surface, but you know what? You scoop those things out over time. It won't feel good, but you will come out as a more refined and polished figure or professional or entrepreneur for it, and it will pay off. I promise it'll pay off.
Yes. No, that was phenomenal. So I want people to put in the chat right now because you just dropped an entire bar. You can't be a test of fire unless you've been through the test of fire. Drop that in the
Right.
chat right now. Because Beanie just dropped a word and you said something so profound, and it was that first of all, this listening to her, which I feel like I'm a great listener, and I'm always just one that's naturally seeking feedback. So I'm listening because I'm always trying to improve myself. So the listening tour is important. I'm probably going to rebrand it and call it that. But that step after the listening tour is to go back and do some self awareness, because you're to your point, or a self assessment. To go back and do a self assessment. What did you hear? Because you're the common denominator. What did you hear that it may make you uncomfortable to acknowledge that this is the truth, this is your truth? Go do a self assessment. And then the way to move past that pain, in my opinion, and the way I coach people is to just call it to your awareness and don't judge yourself for it. So the problem, I believe, is we hear this feedback. Either we push it to the side because it didn't make us feel good and we don't like being uncomfortable, or we get stuck again because we heard the feedback and then we start judging ourselves. And then it makes us stagnant in our personal and professional endeavors because we're sitting there just beating ourselves up about what we heard. And so my takeaway is going to the extra degree is do the self-assessment, do the personal SWOT analysis on yourself. And then, which is what you in your bio, what you talk about is now how do we put this into action steps, a strategy that's going to help me get unstuck. That's going to then benefit my personal development and then whatever business or career choices that I'm making as well. So if you haven't been on a listening tour as a listener of the 5 Minute Career Hack podcast, Beanie has sent me out on mine. She's sending you out on yours. But again, do the self assessment because when you're the common denominator, I know it's painful, but you
Mm.
are what I know. And when I say you, I'm talking to myself. I know that one of the most painful things is to realize that you are the problem. But one of the next most painful things is to realize that you keep lying to yourself about you being the problem. That
Well, and then sometimes it's, I found it might be, if you're operating in a certain sphere, certain types of people, certain, because I do cross areas of from corporate to nonprofit to
Yep.
grassroots and the streets to educators,
Yeah.
and I have also learned that different audiences and people say what they want code switch and all that. Think there's you speak the language
Mhm.
also of the people that you're trying to work with
Yeah.
and intervene with, and
Meet
just
where
like
they
you would go to Spain and you would speak Spanish, and you would go to somewhere in Africa might speak Swahili, and in Germany you might speak German. Like you're gonna pick up a few words or something to adapt. And sometimes we are a little bit stuck in, well, this is me,
Mhm.
accept me or
Mm.
reject me kind of a thing. And the fact is, you in this setting might work gloriously. People
Yeah.
love you, but take that same uh acting and demeanor and try to overlay it over here in a different space, it may not work the same.
Good.
And so it's not even always just, you know, uh, a problem or a innate flaw. It might just be, are you speaking the language
Mhm.
also of the audience that wherever you're trying to go, in whatever spaces, you also got to learn what is the language that people are speaking there, and you got to become proficient in how they speak. Because I've gotten horrible reviews on workshops before, and
Mhm.
I realized, wow, the same thing that people loved over
Yeah.
here
Good.
and that I valued, they're different over
Yeah.
here. They need me to speak a different language, organize it a certain way,
And
have an agenda, hit
yeah.
my 3 points, tell a story, and get out. Like,
Yeah.
whereas over here we can just talk. We
Just
just so it
and get to the
really
same result too sometimes.
it's
Yeah.
right, not always right or wrong. Sometimes it's just learning the culture of the places that you're going to be in and study that as well, and taking that feedback in a way that you refine yourself toward that audience.
Yeah. No, that's perfect. A part of being an agile leader is to be able to meet people where they are. And that's
Right,
you're never going to the same space every single day, even if the same people are there. To your point, seasons change, people change, businesses change. So you have to
right.
be aware of that and just meet them where they are so you can still drive the same meaningful impact. So thank you so much for sharing that. And so my final question for you, and this is something that we do at the 5 Minute Career Hack. We do everything in fives. So share with us your final 5 words for the audience today.
I'd say I think I'm going to rest on, you must know to grow.
Ooh,
You gotta acquire that knowledge. You gotta be constant learner, even if it's not your forte and this isn't your area of genius. You have to learn about the things that you're going to need to at least know enough to manage your way forward
yeah,
in order to grow, whether that's personally, professionally, as a business, or in whatever way.
yeah.
So just being that constant learner is important. But yeah, you must acquire that knowledge, know to grow.
Love it, love it. And I'm gonna add final 5 more words to that. And this was actually I'm stealing it from one of my previous guests. Is and you also have to grow from where you are. So you can't grow
Oh,
from where the people are that you're trying to be like or the businesses that
yes,
you're
ma'am.
trying to duplicate. You got to grow from exactly where you are in that journey. And Beanie gave several hacks to help you to understand what going from 211 to 212 looks like for you. So, Beanie, thank you so much. This has been, I know I learned a lot today. This has been a phenomenal, fruitful discussion. It is my hope and prayer that those who listen to the words that you share today can find their path to the extra degree and help them excel in their personal lives and their professional journeys, in their career paths, as well as their businesses that they're looking to launch or grow or scale. So, again, 5 Minute Career Hack listeners, we appreciate you showing up every single week to support us. Again, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so that you can be one of the first to know when we drop a new episode every single week. Again, Beanie, thank you. We appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Appreciate the opportunity.
I truly hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed doing it for you. However, it doesn't have to end there. Come on over to our Facebook group community right now for free. You're going to get exclusive content that we weren't able to include in this episode as well as past episodes. We've got challenges, we've got research, we've got lives, you name it, all for you in bite-sized chunks so that you can continue this development journey. Go ahead, click the link right now in the description show notes, and we'll see you there.